Great. Let's start. We have with us here today Hannu, co-founder and CEO of Assetti. And thanks so much for taking the time today. And we want to go a little bit over your strategy regarding integrations and automations of your system and software. But maybe let's get started. It would be great to hear a little bit about Assetti and to better understand what you guys do and who is your customer base.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. So just to capture my name, Hannu Rantanen, I'm the co-founder and work as a CEO of Assetti. And Assetti is basically an asset and portfolio management application, which is gradually building to become a platform, meaning that it can aggregate a lot of data from various sources to build your sort of up-to-date picture of your individual assets and all the sort of individual items, which is a relevance to that asset, as well as the whole picture of the portfolio or multiple portfolios what you're managing. So that's basically me and Assetti as a product.
Great. And can you share I think the size of assets that is being managed by your platform?
Yeah, we calculate typically by number of assets as well as by the value of assets. I think the latest figure was somewhere over 25 billion worth of assets in euros under management within our platform or application, whichever context you prefer. And I think number of rentals and leases and number of users is now already, the users especially, is over 500, which is pretty awesome as we speak from a rather sort of like new company so far in the European PropTech scene.
Great, that's quite substantial already. And I suppose, most of your customers have their data in various systems and also have downstream systems that they want to have data being transferred to as well.
Yeah.
So can you share a little bit how you approached integrations in the past, and also do you have a team to do that? Is that part of your engineering team? How do you approach that in general?
It really is like very, very crucial to our business. So you need to bear in mind what I'm going to answer, also the clientele we're serving. So basically our clients are somewhere, we started pretty small, sort of a private equity, small asset management teams, real estate, family offices, and we throughout the years been climbing up to sort of like bigger players like real large real estate investment managers and so forth. And typically our customers, they either run their operations in-house or they have outsourced part of that. So it includes that if you are to aggregate a complete picture of all the assets and portfolios combined, you typically need to integrate to some data source, not only within the client, but also maybe in the service provider. So typically we've been forced to do integrations on one-to-one, sort of like one system talking to our system, so to speak, and then maintain that connection. Luckily, we're seeing more and more moving to sort of like productized integrations, and also that API, as what we already released over 3 years ago, is now gaining more and more traction in the integrations we're doing. And for the time being, we have like maybe you can call it a team, but it's basically 2 persons who concentrate on the integrations. But more or less, we're now building all our efforts to just develop further our API.
Okay. And how do you see that changing towards 2025? I mean, if you see the space and SaaS, there's still some legacy companies who are a bit on the reluctant side to provide really APIs. On the other hand, you have like numerous hundreds or thousands of new systems flourishing across Europe, across the globe, to cover all the various use cases that companies have.
It's a very good question, and it's not really something Assetti specific, so it's not specific to us. I think it touches the whole issue, touches everyone who's active in the industry. And I see 2 drivers or two things happening. First of all is what's going to happen with the legacy systems, because they control majority of the information what are sort of like new PropTech companies or other use cases need, because where are the units, what does the property include, what are the rentals, what is the financial data regarding OPEX and CAPEX, and so forth and so forth. But I think that the number of integrations still will keep increasing in our case, because we're touching more and more new markets. and typically we encounter a new system in each of the market we're going there. So from our point of view, the number of integrations will still be increasing. However, and then maybe just on top of that, there will, as you said, there will be a number of more new prop techs, which typically require some data, and they offer typically an API. So they will API build a really, really crucial role. But I do still see that, I still also see that in the case of the legacy systems, there will be more and more kind of services like yours, in a sense, who can actually compile the file-based data and then transform that into an API. So I do see this kind of like integration middle layers evolving into market to ease up the pain, in a sense, from this whole array of systems out there in the market. So those two drivers, I think, are the two things. And yes, the integrations will, in our case, a number of will go up, will increase, but on the other hand, on the industry, I will see consolidation and disaggregation taking place in, quite on the long term, 5 to 10 years time.
Okay. And I believe on your website it says you guys have already up to 50 integrations with like one-to-one systems, some are standardized.
Yeah.
Today, what do you think where this will be by 2025?
I will say that it will still keep increasing, but we would have like 60 to 70 maybe in a few years time. But on the other hand, we will definitely capture more, sort of like have more exposure through integration services. So I think on the long run, then we will reduce the number of connections we need to, keep updated as we speak. So it's like a two sides of the same coin.
Okay, so basically, number of connections doesn't increase so much, but number of systems you can access through multi meta aggregators is increasing.
Yes.
And how did you come about finding about Dynamic Insight, and how did we come together?
I think it came through common acquaintances, in a way that we've been quite active quite some time already in the German market. Of course, not like really known as the bigger names, but we have done numerous cases and met a lot of people in Germany, and then your name came to our sort of like we just captured the let's say existence of your company, and then we looked, okay, it looks cool, it's worth estimating, evaluating how that could be utilized in one specific use case, where actually one prospect of ours were using a kind of what could be established legacy system in the bookkeeping/accounting. And we were really wondering that, shall we do a one-to-one integration and then keep updating and maintaining the connection? Whereas we found a way that with your product, we can actually solve that puzzle, retrieving the data and then utilizing our API to get it fed into Assetti.
What's your approach looking forward 2 years down the road, generally to integrations? How will you approach basically it internal using external resources? Any ideas about split, and what do you see as competences to keep in-house and maybe the ones to give out?
I think it's pretty simple in a sense. We're going to build all our efforts in the future on API. So that's if you want to connect with the Assetti, talk to API, and that's sort of like we open up all the data points, and you can really perform business functions within Assetti through our API. So it's like through an API, it's totally 100% API driven product, and also what I deem as a business on the long run regarding data products and one-time calls for certain specific set of data for certain specific portfolio or certain data within a portfolio or an asset. So that's definitely that's easy to say. However, we know that there will be, for years to come, legacies will be out there, and a lot of data will be out, non-reachable through an API. But there, I think that the number, the second ship we're going to cruise is definitely players like yours, sort of like what I call maybe middle layers, but anyway, products where you can actually configure various data sources, whether from even something from file-based CSVs on an FTP server to be converted and transformed through an API to Assetti. So I firmly believe that's the second, or sort of the other foot we're going to build our efforts into, say, and that leads hopefully to the sort of like better maintainability and also like unit per cost lowering per connection, in a sense that you can reach bigger amount of connections, but not really increasing totally like the one-to-one integrations as we speak. So that's what I believe, and that will be our future.
Great. Thanks so much for taking the time and sharing your experience and also outlook. I think it's a great example of how to approach this in a world where you are kind of you cannot rely really only on modern APIs like Slack, like Trello, and so forth. But you just have those systems that are not as approachable. You have to go via CSV file, Excel files, or some kind of older transfer protocols, which still exists a lot out there in the prop tech space, in the finance space, and many others. So this is two roads to go.
Yeah.
So thanks a lot for joining.
Hey, it was a pleasure. Vielen Dank.